So that's how we can create objects. Now, the bigger your objects get, the harder it can get to fully read and understand them if you're looking at code like this. And that's why typically we split objects and their properties across multiple lines. After the opening curly brace, we often add a line break to have the first key value pair. The label is our key, and then this is the value. And after the comma, if we have another property, we add another line break. And again, and then another one in front of the closing curly brace. This is a bit easier to read. And here you now see that some white space was added automatically by my IDE. It's not required technically. We could remove it, and the code works either way. But of course, it is a bit easier to read if we do have that white space. And if you want to re-add it, you can simply hit the tab button and it will automatically indent it a bit, or that format document button or shortcut, which also will automatically format this. And that's now simply a bit easier to read. You could also add line breaks like this for arrays if you wanted to, if that helps you with readability. And there it also makes sense if this would be a longer array. But for this array, I think having it in one line is okay as well. But you could add those line breaks as well. Now, when it comes to adding line breaks and splitting code across multiple lines, there also are a couple of other rules which are worth keeping in mind. For example, inside of a string, so between those quotes, you are not allowed to add a line break. You see I'm getting an error here in my IDE if I try to do that. If you would have a longer text and you want to split it across multiple lines, there are two main ways of doing that. You can either add a plus here, which actually will add another string to the first one. It will combine two strings together, so you can use plus not just with numbers, but also with strings. And then you could have your other string in a new line, and that would work, because JavaScript would understand that it should look for another value that belongs to this operation in the next line. So that would work. You could even write it like this and it would still work. That is all valid JavaScript, though typically you would not write it like this because that's not super obvious that this belongs together. But you can split longer strings like this. Alternatively, you can also use backticks instead of single quotes. It looks similar, but it's a different character on your keyboard. And if you use such backticks, then you can actually add a line break inside of the string. So that would be an alternative for longer text. Here I will go back to single quotes, since those are also easier to reach for me on the keyboard and are more commonly used, but these backticks can actually help you if you need such a line break inside of the string. Now, throughout the course, you will also see some other line breaks here and there, and you will see how I structure my code. I will also typically explain why something is structured in a certain way. But in general, as a developer, especially in JavaScript code, but also in HTML code, where we also work with indentation and new lines, our goal is always code readability. We always want to write our code, no matter which kind of code it is, such that it's easy to read, that it's easy to grasp, and we don't need to check if there are multiple statements in one and the same line, but instead we go for short lines, concise code, and clearly structured code. And that's therefore also what we'll go for in this course and what we'll teach you in this course.